Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, let me invite our panelists here today to take stock of the progress that we've made over the past 3 days. A lot has been talked about, a lot has been discussed. There is an action agenda that's been put forward in terms of how we can build this partnership on the basis of ideas and innovation and using technology as a big lever. So let me introduce you to our panelists this afternoon. May I have on stage Jo Johnson, Minister of State for Universities, Science, Research and Innovation at UK. Jo, can we have you up on stage, please? Also with us, Rajesh Agarwal, the Deputy Mayor of London. He's been here taking us through what London intends to do to continue to dominate innovation and technology. Lord Karan Billamoria, founder and chairman of Cobra Bear. Could we have you up on stage, please? Dr. Ruth McKernan, Chief Executive at Innovate UK. Ruth, could you please join us? And with us, Mr. Mohandas Pai, the Chairman of the Board of Manipal Global Education. Mr. Pai, could you join us on stage, please? Professor Patrick Wolf, Deputy Director, Alan Turing Institute. Professor Wolf, could we have you up on stage, please? Emma Sinclair, entrepreneur and the founder of Enterprise Jungle. Emma, do join us on stage. And we've got one of our young winners from the hackathon that was organized here, Sarthak Sachdev, who just won the Barclays Rise Hackathon. Sarthak, can we have you up on stage, please? All right, so that is our panel for this afternoon. Jo Johnson, let me come straight to you. There's been a lot of talk around ideas, innovation, collaboration that's already underway and collaboration for the future. A few MOUs have been signed between India and the UK on the skills front, on technology. What would you say has been the most meaningful achievement of this three-day event and the discussions between both sides?
If you ask me to highlight one of the things which I'm keenest on, I'm just delighted that we've extended the very successful UKerieri program, which is an incredibly powerful tool to drive collaboration between our education systems and our research institutes. So that's been extended for a third time now, underlining the huge potential that both countries see in deepening and strengthening our education and research partnerships.
The numbers of Indian students to the UK has declined over the last 5 years. The numbers are down to about 20-odd thousand from 40,000. What will you do to ensure that the numbers go back up?
My main message to prospective Indian students who are thinking about where they want to study is that the UK has some of the world's best universities. In fact, Oxford was recently ranked the world's best university in the Times Higher rankings. But Oxford is not alone. We have 91 in the top 1,000 institutions globally. You cannot get a better higher education anywhere in the world than in the UK, and we want more Indian students to have the benefit of studying in the UK, just as we want more British students to have the benefit of coming to study in India. What I think our priority should be is to make a reality of Prime Minister Modi's vision of a living bridge between our two countries. And that bridge, the living bridge, is going to be made up of people and ideas moving between our two countries at a rate that we all want to see.
Lord Billamoria, let me start by asking you, in terms of specifics, in terms of what both sides need to do from a government perspective to facilitate and from a private sector perspective to collaborate, what would you like to see happen?
I think we've got a very supportive universities minister in Jo Johnson, and I've seen that on the ground, not just now, but last year as well, and that's wonderful. And I agree with everything that he said in terms of UKeri, which I was a member of the UK-India Roundtable that launched the UKeri, the UK-India Research Excellence Exchange Program, with thousands of academics between the two countries have worked together. Also, there's Generation UK-India, where we're sending thousands of young British graduates, undergraduates across to India to experience India. All that is great. But the reality, and I now speak as the president of the UK Council of International Student Affairs, the Indian student numbers, as you said, have halved. And I think, sadly, there's a perception issue. So if we address that perception issue, and to Joe's point, we have the best universities in the world, along with the United States of America. He mentioned Oxford. Which university has won more Nobel Prizes than any other in the world? Cambridge University, almost 100 Nobel Prizes. So we're very proud of our universities, and we know Indians love British universities. We love more Indians to come to our universities, and if we can just sell ourselves better and improve that perception issue, our numbers will go back to where they were before.
Mohan, that's fine. Let me get you to comment on what you've just heard so far, as well as the opportunity that Joe Johnson talked about, which is bringing in British students to experience India and this two-way student mobility. As somebody who runs Manipal Education today, what does that mean really for you?
Shirin, I would say at the outset that the world is going to change tremendously in the next 10 to 15 years.
It's changed today.
No, it's changed today, but we've got to see what impact it will have. You have robotics, you have autonomous cars, you have alternate energy, genetic
and
medicine, and Trump coming too. But all this is going to be done by young, brilliant minds. So we must get the young people of the UK to come to India, look at the market, look at the learning opportunity. Because, when I was growing up, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they told us, go west, young man. Now they say, go east, young man. Because the largest growth ever in human history is going to take place east of London, east of the Suez, the old book, East of Eden. So, if you look at this, and this is going to be made by young people. It's not going to be made by the earlier generation. They don't get it. Now, we've got to get 10, 15,000 young UK students to come here, our students to engage with the UK. Now what is happening, they're all going to the valley, they're going to sunny California, they're enjoying themselves in America, and they're not going to the UK, sadly. Now we have to rebuild these bridges because they're going to make the future.
So specifically, what would you like to see to rebuild that bridge?
There's one thing I would like the UK to do, and that is anybody with a STEM advanced degree should have something like an F1 visa that the United States gives young people to work for 1 or 2 years in industry and then come back. Not to immigrate. I don't like them to stay in the UK. They must go to the UK, get educated, build up their links with industry, do innovation, and come back and work within 2 countries.
Okay, talking about the future, Emma, let me put that question to you now. In terms of future collaboration on things that matter and that can be driven by technology and greater partnership to leverage technology, what would the action agenda need to look like?
Well, I think a few things. First of all, as an entrepreneur and as a technology entrepreneur, the world is borderless to both me, to my generation, to my customers. On day one of my... But
that's not how the politicians see it.
Well, we're asking me how I feel and how I built my business.
But what kind of constraints does that throw up for somebody like you?
I understand. So the role of politicians for me and government is to create a great infrastructure in which I can flourish. I've been able to do that in London, I've been able to do that in the US, and no doubt there are people able to do that here. And it is borderless to an extent, because on day one of my business, myself and my co-founder were on different continents, and we could cover every time zone and cover, people there. What I would say that hit me when I was on day one of the trip here with the Tech Summit in India was when someone mentioned that every second 3 Indians are experiencing the internet for the first time.
Yes.
And that, we all hone in on different messages. I'm going to let Joe and Karan fight the education fight and the university fight. But for me, what I came to hear about was how I can create better relationships, how I can learn from everybody here and how they can learn from me. And when I heard that statistic, it became incredibly clear to me that over and above everything we already know about the great ties between India and the United Kingdom, that is an unheard of opportunity. That is a land of people who need education, who need consumer services, who need finance, and it's a generation who'll be using their mobile phones to do that. So it's incredibly compelling.
I think Emma makes an excellent point, and well, maybe 2 excellent points. The first is just about the sheer size of the market here in India. When we talk about 1 billion people who are mobile enabled, and 220 million at last count who are on smartphones. That's already larger than the market size in the US, for example. So I think Emma makes a great point that it is about government creating the right environment and set of opportunities for businesses in the UK to connect to that market. I think the higher education sector in the UK is doing a lot to encourage engagement and interaction with India, but I would definitely like to see us do more. The Alan Turing Institute, which I am representing here today, is the UK's new National Institute for Data Science. I was talking with senior colleagues here in India just earlier this afternoon about the opportunities to engage in the fields of big data and data science. There are clear opportunities there. We are going to start some concrete programs. And the other thing I would say on that front is that my own university, UCL in London, has taken a decision to heavily invest in India. So we will be rolling out some programs to encourage additional engagement with folks from India, be they undergraduate students, master's students, fellows, postgraduates, and junior members of the academic community. So there's quite a lot happening. I think we do need to do more. We need to use this summit as a kind of catapult to push ourselves to do more. And again, to bring it back to Emma's point, I think many times what governments can do that's most effective is to facilitate, break down those energy barriers, enable those handshakes, and then maybe get out of the way and let good things happen.
Let me bring in a quick word from Sarthak, since clearly he represents the future. Sarthak, you've congratulations, by the way, on winning that contest, and what an achievement it is for you. But as a young, budding entrepreneur, what is it that you would like from this equation? What is it that you would like to see from either governments, from the startup ecosystem? What's your wish list looking like?
Well, I think that the UK and India, the fostering of partnerships between them, like the Newton Fund, are great initiatives, and I think we could see even more of these to increase the amount of entrepreneurs, let's say, collaborating between the UK and India, and maybe we could work on some better solutions to make the world a better place.
Okay, so is the number one ask on your wish list funding, or is it sort of greater engagement from a research perspective, from an academic perspective?
Well, certainly it's from an academic perspective, because that is what drives the world forward. Funding can be obtained, but collaboration between, let's say, researchers and experts, industry experts, is what counts when you are an entrepreneur and want to make some startup successful.
Okay. Ruth, so in terms of a call to action, there's a lot of work that you're already doing currently. There are several projects that you're collaborating with the Indian side, but from a call to action perspective, if I were to ask you to identify what will be needed to be done to scale up, build further momentum.
Well, as the UK's Innovation Agency, this is exactly what we do. And I would say that the Tech Summit over the past few days, whatever else has been happening, has been an inspiration. It's been a fantastic couple of days. We've had an expansion of the Newton Baba Fund, as the Minister's just said, which allows us to do more in the areas that really matter for the future. So more in clean technology, more in affordable healthcare, more in the Internet of Things. I think the panel has focused a lot on digital, but actually the fourth industrial revolution is merging the digital world with the physical and the biological. Yes. And that's what really matters. One of the great things we've been doing in the last few days is the cities mission. So we've had 22 companies, they've gone off to Pune, and they've been looking at ways of improving the quality of life in cities, air quality, integration of different technologies. And actually, one of the most heartening things for me is that one of the institutes that we fund that works on making houses into power stations, so instead of using electricity, instead of using power, they're creating it. Instead of going out on the mission with everybody else, their partnerships and their discussions were going so well, they decided to stay and see how what they do could scale up across India. That's the sort of thing we should be doing, and I'm so proud we've been having those conversations over the last
Well, that does deserve a round of applause, and I hope we continue to see a lot more of that. So congratulations to Ruth and the team. Rajesh, let me bring you in on the conversation. You've spent the last 3 days here talking to people who are already working in the UK, who've got joint ventures in the UK, who are working in the area of technology and innovation and so on and so forth. On the back of what you've heard, if I were to ask you to draw out the next few practical steps to build on this partnership, what would those be?
If the 19th century was of the empire, 20th century was of the nations, 21st century belonged to the cities. So cities play a very, very important role in going forward. Cities are also more nimble, so they can actually partner quicker, they can collaborate quicker, better. London has been a great place of learning for centuries. We've got over 40 universities in London, more than any other city in the world, 4 of which, including the UCL, are among top 30 universities in the world. And one of the reasons why London is such a successful city is because it attracts people from around the world who come to London for education, to visit, to work, and to set up businesses.
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, I just want to add to Rajesh's point. It's not only about cities and city-to-city interaction, but also the technical science and technology research side. We've heard an awful lot in the past few days here at the Tech Summit about smart cities and future cities initiatives. I think that's probably a prime area of collaboration between these two countries, and colleagues at places like the Newton Baba Fund are already investing in smart cities initiatives. So I think I would very much like to see us continue to push those initiatives forward. And it's absolutely, as Rajesh said, it's not only about the interactions in a city-to-city scale, but also about the opportunities that this represents to kind of, give us enhanced societal benefit on both sides.
Sure. Lord Bill Murray?
Yes, if you look at this summit, I mean, it's been so successful for a number of reasons. The first is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he came to the UK a year ago, 60,000 of us in Wembley Stadium.
Yes.
And I'll never forget one of the things he said. He said there was a day when Britain was the empire, the biggest empire the world has ever known. And today, India is a country of 1.25 billion people, and Britain is 65 million people, but we treat each other as equals. And that is the wonderful thing, is that whole thing of the theme of this conference, which is collaboration. The power of collaboration, we showed that when Punjab University and Birmingham University produce papers, the research coefficient individually is 1.6, 1.7. When the two universities work together and produce a paper, it's 5.65. And that is the same as when Birmingham collaborates with Harvard. That is the power of collaboration. The next message from this conference is government can be something that comes in the way, but on the other hand, government can be a catalyst and a facilitator and an enabler. And the entrepreneurial spirit and creativity that's here is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Ruth, very quickly.
Yes, I just wanted to extend that partnership concept to say partnership is a very operational thing as well. So some of the small and medium-sized businesses we've brought with us are working in partnership with small and medium-sized businesses in India. So this is a bottom-up as well as a top-down. And the projects benefit from having different skills on either side. So, for example, the work that's being done on water purification to help the 140 million people who have arsenic-contaminated water, it uses technology developed by universities and a company in the UK, but built to work in an Indian context so that then both companies can grow and expand and create their own economic growth from it. That's what partnership is.
Well, that's the perfect note then to get a closing comment from Joe Johnson.
I think Prime Minister Modi is, of course, right. This is an unbeatable combination. And I want to build on Karen's point to illustrate why. When we collaborate between our research institutions, we get the most impactful science of any collaborations that India has anywhere in the world. Now, in terms of volumes of collaborations, we are in third place behind the USA and Germany in terms of the actual number of collaborations. But in terms of the impact of those collaborations as measured by field-weighted citation impact, we are the most impactful collaboration partner that India has. And that's why we think it's really important that we build on the fruitful partnerships that are already in place and put more partnerships in place so we get more return for our investment in pure basic research. It's vital for taxpayers that we see a strong return on the investment that we're all making in our science bases, and that's why you want to see truly impactful research come out of it. International collaboration is more powerful than domestic research undertaken within a single national system. And if you're going to collaborate internationally, you want to collaborate where the science is best. And we've got brilliant scientists and brilliant researchers and brilliant innovators in the UK. And the statistics which come out on a regular basis bear this out. So my message is, let's keep up this extraordinary work and deliver on the living bridge and the unbeatable combination, two powerful concepts which PM Modi has recently put out.
Well, that is the perfect ending then to wrap up this 3-day India-UK Tech Summit. I think a lot has been discussed, a lot has been shared, a lot of experiences that we can learn from, a lot of insights that we can take away, and that we do hope that both sides do move forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Focus. Ideate, innovate, enable.